Hi, my name is Dr. Sanjeev P. Sahni. I am working as Principal Director of Jindal Institute of Behavioral Sciences, OP Jindal Global University. Today, we will be talking about the fundamentals of negotiation. So, what is negotiation? Negotiation is the process by which people deal with their differences. Whether those differences involve the purchase of a new automobile, like you want to buy a car, you negotiate for a color, you negotiate for a model, you negotiate for price. You also deal when you have a labor contract dispute, the term of a sale, or a complex alliance between two companies. Resolution are typically sought through negotiations. To negotiate is to seek mutual agreement through dialogue. It involves two or more parties with competing or conflicting interests or needs working towards an agreement on how they will cooperate. Now, coming to the negotiating styles, there could be many negotiating styles, but we are going to talk about 5 different negotiating styles which generally is being accepted all over the world. One is competing, second is accommodating, third is avoiding, fourth is collaborating, and the fifth is compromising. So, let me explain you one by one. First, competing is assertive and uncooperative, in which an individual pursues their own concerns at the other person's expense. This is a power-oriented mode in which one uses whatever power seems appropriate to win one's own position, one's ability to argue, one's rank economic sanctions. Competing might mean standing up for your rights, defending a position which you believe is correct, or simply trying to win. The second is accommodating. Accommodating is unassertive and cooperative, the opposite of competing. When accommodating, individuals neglect their own concerns to satisfy the concerns of other person. There is an element of self-sacrifice in this mode. Accommodating might take the form of selfless generosity or charity, obeying another person's order when one would prefer not to, or yielding to another's point of view. The third style is avoiding. Avoiding is unassertive and uncooperative. The individual does not immediately pursue their own concerns of those of the other person. They do not address the conflict. Avoiding might take the form of diplomatically sidestepping an issue, postponing an issue until a better time, or simply withdrawing from a threatening situation. The fourth style is collaborating. Collaborating is both assertive and cooperative, the opposite of avoiding. Collaborating involves an attempt to work with the other person to find some solution which fully satisfy the concerns of both persons. It means digging into an issue to identify the underlying concerns of the two individuals and to find an alternative which meets both sets of concerns. Collaborating between two persons might take a form of exploring a disagreement to learn from each other's insights, concluding to resolve some condition which would otherwise have them competing for resources or confronting and trying to find a creative solution to an interpersonal problem. The fifth and the last style is compromising. Compromising is intermediate in both assertiveness and cooperativeness. The objective is to find some expedient, mutually acceptable solution which partially satisfy both parties. It falls on a middle ground between competing and accommodating. Compromising gives up more than competing but less than accommodating. Likewise, it addresses an issue more directly than avoiding, but does not explore it in as much depth as collaborating. Compromising might mean splitting the difference, exchanging concessions, or seeking a quick middle ground. Now, coming to another important facet of negotiation, that is negotiation framework. When people don't have the power to force a certain outcome or behavior, they generally negotiate, but only when they believe it is to their advantage to do so. A negotiated solution is only advantageous when a better option is not available. Therefore, any successful negotiation must have a fundamental framework based on knowing: 1. The best alternative to a negotiation. 2. The minimum threshold for a negotiated deal. 3. How flexible a party is willing to be and what trade-offs are possible. 4 concepts are especially important for establishing this framework. The first is what we call as BATNA, or it's called best alternative to the negotiated agreement. Your BATNA is what you will do if you do not reach an agreement during a negotiation. 2. The second is reservation price or walkaway. Your reservation price is the least favorable point at which you will accept a negotiated deal. The third is called ZOPA, ZOPA, or is called zone of possible agreement. Your ZOPA is the range in which a potential deal can take place, defined by the overlap between the parties' reservation prices. The fourth is value creation through trades. This occurs when goods or services are traded and have only modest value of their holders, but exceptional value to the other party. Having discussed negotiation framework, we also need to know steps for preparing for a negotiation. It is multi-step process. I think it is almost 10 steps which I would like to describe one by one. The first one is think through a good outcome. A negotiation's success is judged by its outcome, not by its process. 2. Assess your needs and interests. Make a list of what you must have and what you would like to have and why. 3. Identify your BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Make a list of what your alternatives would be if the negotiation ends without agreement. Review the list of determine which alternatives would be the best. Fourth, improve your BATNA if possible. For example, if you are negotiating the purchase of a specific product or a service, option for improving your BATNA may include A. Pursuing better tentative arrangements with other suppliers or the product or service you are purchasing. B. Seeking to ease one of the constraints that makes your current BATNA unsatisfactory. C. Investing in improved internal capability so that your organization can reduce the need for the product or service. The fifth one now is to determine your reservation price. If you are negotiating a sale of your house with a qualified buyer and an equally qualified buyer have previously offered you, let's say, for 85,000 rupees per yard and has left the offer open, your BATNA in this negotiation is the 85,000 rupees. All other things being equal, the closing date, the condition of the house upon sale, etc., your reservation price should be 85,000. You should walk away if this prospective buyer does not offer you 85,000 rupees or more. 6. Evaluate the trade-offs between issues and interest. To evaluate the other side's proposal and to make proposal that advance your interests, ask yourself the following things. Which issue or terms do you care most about? How much of what you want on one issue or term would you trade off against another? Are there different package deals that would be equivalent in value to you? Seventh, assess the other side's BATNA. If the other side does not have a good BATNA and you know it, you may be able to negotiate a highly favorable deal for yourself or for your company. To assess the other side's BATNA, you should learn as much as possible about their business circumstances. What is their credit rating? What does their annual report shows? How strong have quarterly earnings been? Has management directed any new initiative relevant to this deal? Number 8, assess the other side's interest. The other side's broader business objectives and what it needs in order to achieve them. Possible reason why the other side's business growth might be happened, and what goods and services you have that would benefit the other side. Number 9, anticipate the authority issue. Try to determine the formal and informal decision-making authority of the people with whom you will be negotiating. What is their rank and scope of responsibility? Were they authorized to negotiate only within certain preset limits? How much authority do you have? Must you account for the process and results? Can you bind your organization to any deal you find acceptable, or must you obtain approval? Number 10, which is the last, learn all you can about the people and culture on the other side. Pay particular attention to the people doing the negotiating for the other side. The people, the other organization, although you cannot gather complete information, some knowledge about the other organization culture can help you avoid being misunderstood. We now be discussing types of negotiation. There are essentially two kinds of negotiation: distributive negotiation and integrative negotiation. Most negotiation combine elements of both types, but for purpose of understanding it is important to examine each type in its pure form. Distributive negotiation refers to a competitive negotiation strategy which is used when the parties seek to distribute a fixed resource such as money, assets, etc. between themselves. It is also known as zero sum or win-lose negotiation, in the sense that the parties to negotiation try to claim the maximum share for themselves, and due to which, when one party wins and reaches its goals and the other one loses. Distributive negotiation is chosen by a competitive communicators when there is a lack of mutual trust and cooperation. Integrative negotiation implies a collaborative negotiation strategy in which parties seek a win-win solution to settle the conflict. In this process, the parties' aim and goals are likely to be integrated in such a way that creates a combined value for both the parties and thus results in enlarging the pie. It stresses on reaching a mutually beneficial and acceptable outcome, keeping in mind the interest, needs, concerns, and preferences of the parties concerned. Having discussed the types of negotiation, it is also important to focus on approaches of negotiation. There are three approaches to negotiation: hard, soft, and principled. Hard approaches views negotiation as a battle of wills. Hard bargaining emphasizes results. Haggling in a market is the stereotypical image of hard bargaining. The soft approach focuses on preserving the relationship ahead of results. While both hard and soft negotiation style focus on positions, the soft approach is the opposite of the hard approach in many regards, as we will discuss now. The third one is principled approach. The principled negotiation method of focusing on both interest, mutually satisfying options, and fair standards typically results in a wise agreement. The method permits one to each a gradual consensus on a joint decision efficiently without all the transactional cost of digging into position only to have to dig yourself out of them. It has 4 basic principles which are relevant from time to time you begin to think about negotiating until the time either an agreement is reached or you decide to break off the effort. The first one is separate the people from the problem. Human beings are not computers, and emotions typically become entangled with the objective qualities of the problem. Taking positions makes this worse because people egos become tied to their positions. Making concessions for the relationship is equally problematic because it can encourage and reward stubbornness, which leads to a poor outcome and resentment that ends up damaging the relationship. Before working on a problem, the people problem should be disentangled from it and addressed on its own. The participants should come to see themselves as working side by side, attacking the problem, not each other. Second, focus on interest, not positions. Good agreements satisfy underlying interests, yet most often participants focus on stated positions. A negotiating position obscures what you really want to. Compromising between position is not likely to produce an agreement that will address the need that led people to adopt those positions. The third one is invent multiple options, looking for mutual gains before deciding what to do. It is difficult to design optimal solutions while under pressure. Trying to decide in the presence of an adversary narrows your vision. Having a lot at stake inhibits creativity. So does searching for the one right solution. These constraints can be offset by setting a designated time within which to think up a wide range of possible solutions that advance shared interests and creatively reconcile differing interests. Before trying for each an agreement, invent options for mutual gain. The fourth one is insist that the result be based on some objective standards. When interests are directly opposed, a negotiator may be able to obtain a favorable result simply by being stubborn. You can counter such a negotiator by insisting that his single say so is not enough and that the agreement must reflect some fair standards independent of the opinion of either side. Neither party need give in to the other. Both can defer to fair solution. For example, market value, expert opinion, law, and others. That is it in this video. Hope you had a good learning session. Thank you.